How's it? Welcome back. So I tried out the combo again of using binaural beats, and in this case I was using Hemi-Sync and one of the tracks from the Monroe Institute. Specifically, I was using the track that's titled Surf and combining it with one of these things here. So this is a light machine. Essentially, it's another type of meditation device that works by flashing these lights at your closed eyes at specific frequencies with the goal of helping to get your brainwaves in tune with it. Now, for me personally, I don't really pay attention to the frequencies coming out of these lights too much. I like to use it mostly as a way just to give me a very obvious object of attention as I'm lying underneath it, sinking down into deeper meditative states. And for me personally, I very often go for like very visual types of meditation, and I prefer to get down into the stage one of sleep, liminal dream, hypnagogic area. And by having this light flash at your eyes, it just gives you that very obvious object of attention to latch your awareness to keep you lucidly or consciously aware. Because we're going to pass through this hypnagogic state every time we fall asleep. Just the vast majority of the time we go through it, we're not lucid or conscious of the fact. We're just, unconscious, drifting off to sleep as we typically do. But by combining these two, what I'm essentially doing is I'm making my own makeshift mind machine. And so if you don't know what mind machines are, they are these devices that essentially combine binaural beats with this light machine stuff. The difference is, though, for the tracks that are made specifically for the mind machines, everything is synced up in frequency perfectly together, right? And so in this Frankenstein version that I'm using here, they're not synced up. But as I said earlier, it doesn't really matter that much to me because I'm mostly just using this as a way to keep my attention locked in on something. Now, I do think it would be better if somebody made light machine tracks to sync up perfectly to these Gateway Experience Monroe Institute tracks. But until that day comes, and maybe somebody out there actually did make it. I'm just not aware of it personally. But until that day comes, I do feel like this is the best way to use these Hemi-Sync Gateway tape sessions. And so when it came to me using it, it did work quite good. Something I noticed is that the sensation of movement kicked in really fast. Like within a couple minutes, I could already find like a center point underneath the lights, and you can get the sense of movement that kicked in really fast, where you can absolutely find that sense of movement just using these without any, Hemi-Sync or binaural beat track going on. But it can take a bit longer, where at first when you're lying underneath it, right, you might not see a pattern. You just see that flash, but eventually you can start to see a lot of things. All sorts of different patterns or even full-on images can pop out. But typically what would come up first for me is you'll find like a kind of center point, and then it can kind of start to twist and eventually start just kind of tunneling and spinning in the same direction. But for me, the first thing that I'll tend to notice, it will kind of like shift back and forth. So that shifting back and forth sensation kicked in really fast. It had the physical sensations to go along with it. And you can also get physical sensations to go along just when you're using the binaural beats on their own. But for me, that really only happens as I'm sinking down into the hypnagogic stage one of sleep area. Then you can start to feel the different movements associated with the whatever dream scene it is that you're popping into. But I did find it to be very cool. Now, when it comes to this light specifically, this is the Loom Light by Light Bath. This is the cheapest, highest quality light machine I've ever come across, but there are free versions. I mean, at least I've heard of there are free versions of like phone apps you can find. I haven't actually found them myself, but they work by flashing your camera flash at your face, right? But for this one, it has alpha, delta, gamma, and Schumann. Now, I pretty much always just prefer the alpha light frequency. Just the pace of the light flashing seems to be the easiest for me to build like, visuals off of and find that center point and make it spin and do things like that. Delta's a bit too slow, gamma's a bit too fast, and then Schumann was also good too. And from my understanding, Schumann is essentially getting to like that theta range where alpha and theta are pretty close together. And also alpha and theta are the dominant brainwaves when you're in stage one of sleep hypnagogia anyway. But I prefer using alpha. And when it comes to the Surf Hemi-Sync track that I'm using, I was trying to find which frequencies like that track is aiming at, and I couldn't find that answer anywhere. I should probably do a bit more digging, but typing it in, I saw something on Google that said that it was kind of more towards the delta range, which makes sense to me. It is a very calming, relaxing, like ocean type sound. But I would kind of thought, I was kind of guessing that it might have been more towards the alpha or theta range. regardless, it seemed to work perfectly fine, whether, the surf track was in delta and then this light frequency was at alpha. Didn't matter. I had that deep meditative like experience and found that zone very quickly. And yeah, it just works really well. So if you've ever, if you can get your hands on one of these or maybe get that free phone app, you can find free versions of the gateway stuff too really easily. SoundCloud has a bunch of tracks on there where they have pretty good sound quality as well. Or you can just, of course, go to hemi-sync.com and purchase one like I did. But it works really great. In my opinion, it is the ideal way to use these Hemi-Sync tracks or even just binaural beat tracks in general. So, check it out if you're interested. And yeah, that is it. Until the next video, keep your meditation practice legit